Hiya! You are just watching VideoGaming Father's video review of a stealth puzzle platformer called Stealth Bastard Deluxe. The game story explains the strange and expressive name of the game. And who is actually the main hero and what's his mission? Is the game more about hiding, platforming, or solving puzzles? Can one find an interesting level design and variable environment there? What kind of enemies will your hero be standing against? Are there any innovative ideas enhancing the gameplay? Isn't the game overly difficult or spoiled by clunky controls? Will you find some local multiplayer in the game? Let's spend the next few minutes finding the answers to all the questions. Well, the story is actually not explicitly explained. We are just told that you will control the clone who needs to go through a series of tough tests in the facility that is full of lethal traps and dangerous enemies. And that's it. Well, you can read through some funny messages after finishing each sector, but they just slightly explain what is happening, so it's rather up to your imagination to find some story there. Which is a shame, because I think that the game concept definitely provides the ground for building up at least a simple story. Okay, let's leave it and let's take a close look at how the game is played. In the first few tutorial levels, you will learn that in each section you need to get to the terminal that will hack to open the exit door to proceed further. To do this, you usually need to get somewhere in typical platforming style. Moving, jumping, crouching, falling, climbing, and using switches to open something or activate various mechanisms like moving platforms or elevators. This all sounds pretty simple, doesn't it? Yes, true, if only there were not lethal traps and enemies going after you every time when they spot you. Here I need to mention that your hero has no weapons and no armor at all, so every contact with a trap or enemy results in his instant death. You cannot destroy them, or at least in most of the cases, so you simply need to avoid them. Now let's have a look at what they are. First, you will get familiar with the giant cogs that you need to jump over, laser beams that are usually turned on and off in predetermined intervals, so you need to find the right moment to get through them, and omnipresent cameras that turn on the alarm, activating lockdowns, lasers, or doing some other unfriendly actions. There are also the enemies that start actively firing at you at their version of warm welcome. There are static turrets, then there are moving robots and giant bosses called sentinels that work the same way as turrets or cameras, only their field of view is not limited to the narrow slice, but they can see everything in the area surrounding them. It's been already said that your hero does not have any weapons, so what tools does he have to get through all the traps and enemies? Your worst enemy is actually light, and your best friends are dark and shadows. No, your hero is not a vampire, but to stay invisible to your enemies is a key to success. The indicator at the bottom part of the screen tells you if you are not visible, partially visible, or fully visible. In the first case, you are completely safe unless the moving enemies like robots approach you directly. If you are partially visible, it takes your enemies some time to fully focus on you, so you still have some time to run out of their sight. But if your hero is fully visible and gets into enemy sight, it usually results in instant death or lockdown at least. Sometimes the path through the shadows is clear, but most of the time you will need to make it for yourself. How? Well, for example, you will need to activate some switch that fires up some mechanism moving something and making the desired shadow for you. Or there are big blocks or boxes that your hero can push to make them the shadow for himself, or do some switches that are active only when someone or something stands on them. Later you can also use the robots to direct them to the switch by activating the moving platforms or lifts to get them to the place where you need them and trapping them there by calling the lift back. So, most of the game puzzles are based on getting somewhere and activating something that opens your way further while avoiding dangerous traps and enemies. The level design is good and inventive, I would say, as it usually combines some mechanics that you have seen before with the new ones, and along with short levels that you do not usually need more than 2 minutes to finish, fans you know how, of course, prevent the game from the early stereotype. The only thing I have found not so comfortable here is that some levels I had to increase the brightness of the screen almost to the maximum to see some paths that would otherwise remain hidden in the dark. How about the game difficulty and controls? Stealth Bastard Deluxe is not an easy game for sure. It requires both fast reflexes, right timing, and logical thinking to successfully resolve most of the game's situations. However, thanks to the short levels, respawning right before the critical moment when dies, and unlimited number of attempts, the game is challenging but not punishing. The only problem I can see here is that in most of cases, it's not clear how to resolve the situation on the first sight, so you will need to apply the trial and error approach to find out what mechanism is activated by each switch. This raises the game difficulty, but I do not think that in the best way possible. You can also see the best time for each level in the top right corner that should motivate you to finish the level in the shortest time possible, but those times are usually from the dreamland for common casual players. However, after finishing each level, you can also see the leaderboard with everybody's time needed to finish the level. It shows you which place you are in currently, which is more motivating for restarting the level and try to accomplish it in at least a few seconds better time to get higher in there. This is really a good idea. So I would say that the game can be as difficult as you make it for yourself. As for the game controls, I have played it on the Xbox controller and I can say that I was satisfied most of the time. Controls are easy and responsive enough most of the time. You just need an analog stick and button for jump, crouch and interaction. Sometimes I had a problem grabbing the ledge, especially when falling down, which resulted in various deadly traps, but otherwise I was satisfied. Can the game audiovisuals please your senses? The game graphics are in pixel art style, but with a good level of detail, graphical effects, with maybe too explicit depiction of main hero's deaths, and functional system of light and dark. It reminds me of the best pixelated games from the 90s. The industrial music tracks are also perfectly fitting the game atmosphere. There could only be more of them as they tend to repeat quite often. Sounds are rather average, so nothing that would one be surprised of either positively or negatively. So let's summarize it then. Can I recommend Stealth Bastard Deluxe to fellow gaming fathers and their families with clear conscience? There are for sure many things that I like about the game. Good level design, many interesting puzzles to solve, functional system of light and dark, challenging yet not frustrating difficulty, responsive and user-friendly controls, leaderboards, beautiful pixel art graphics and atmospheric music. There are also some things that I dislike. Lack of proper story, trial and error approach, necessity to have the brightness almost on the maximum to see some areas, and the absence of RPG elements that would enhance the gameplay. Stealth Bastard Deluxe is suitable for family playing if you have at least 10 years old kids, as the depiction of your hero's death is quite explicit and the difficulty would be also too high for younger kids. Unfortunately, there is no local co-op in the game, which would make the game even better. Like this, you can still compete to see who can finish the level in better time and get the higher place in the leaderboard. Stealth Bastard Deluxe goes €9 on Steam, but is discounted quite often, even by 90%, so I would recommend waiting for some discount. The good thing is that the game has a level editor and support of community levels, so the new content which can make the game last longer is guaranteed. Despite of many deaths, I have really enjoyed Stealth Bastard Deluxe thanks to the instant gameplay, inventive level design and interesting puzzles to solve, and let's be honest, thanks to the presence of leaderboard as well, and thus I'm giving the game thumbs up and VideoGaming Father's index 8 out of 10. Recommended. Thank you for watching my Stealth Bastard Deluxe video review, and please do not forget about the like and subscribe to my VideoGaming Father's channel if you have enjoyed it. See you soon!